Good morning, everyone. Looks like we're up at about close to 150 people. Hope everyone's having a good morning so far. Just give everybody another couple of minutes. Good morning, Lindsay. We've now officially opened the chat with your comments. Thank you. The balls are in the Sweet 16, yes. Okay. Turpin, where in the world are you? You've got a great setup there. The nice vaulted ceiling, and it's very tranquil.
We're Colorado Springs, where we always do Health of the Healers, so it's the place. So hopefully a lot of people come and participate in it as we go through all this. But so we've got about 20 hospital directors, a few lead technicians, and a bunch of medical directors. So always a fun week.
Excellent. Excellent. Justin, I see your Iowa Hawkeyes comment there. I thought Caitlin Clark I thought her run was over. I was very nervous for her down the stretch, but they pulled it out. So that was an exciting win.
Pretty awesome.
I've got them winning the whole thing in my women's bracket. So I'm a Hawkeye fan for at least another couple weeks. Okay, here we are, 10:03 Central Time. We'll get started. So if we could flip to the next slide. Want to say welcome to everybody to our first support center oriented meeting. And really the purpose of this is just to have a conversation. And we try to make this a little less formal than our town halls, and a little bit more focused on the support center, and give you kind of different information. So the last 12 months there's been just a ton of change and evolution, and realize that we're missing that opportunity to kind of have this more focused connection with all the folks that are working hard in our support center for our hospitals. So just an opportunity for us to kind of strengthen, build culture, create a more acute understanding of our business and priorities, and really kind of strengthen connections across the group. So hope you enjoy this time. Hope you find value in the conversation. We really want this to be what you want it to be, and as helpful as we can be for all the folks on this call. So want you to ask questions along the way. There'll be time at the end, certainly, for some questions. We want feedback. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like, so that we can tweak and adjust. So if we can go to the agenda page here. Full agenda. As I mentioned, we'll have some time at the end, about 20 minutes or so, to answer any questions. We did get a couple of questions ahead of time, not many. So feel free to put some questions either in the chat or in the Q&A function, whichever you like, and we can answer those towards the end. And so for our agenda, we're going to start our conversation with culture, which is super important to us. We've kind of said before that culture can really kind of make or break what binds us. Really want to spend some good focused time. Turpin is going to lead that conversation, talk about our cultural journey, and also give us an update on values. And then Dr. Welch is going to give us a deep dive into the medical leadership function. And one of the goals of these calls is to kind of create a greater awareness and understanding of really all the functions that make up the support center, because things have changed and roles have been redefined and departments have evolved within our support center. So we want to make sure that we are all on the same page and that we are forthcoming about kind of what's happening in each department. So we will focus on medicine today, and so Dr. Welch will take us through that conversation. And then Tyler and Brandon are going to kind of walk us through our priority projects for the year. And then Jason's going to give us a live demo of our new air traffic control function. And really the purpose of that is to make sure that everybody in the support center, as well as to a certain extent hospitals and certainly field, or understand kind of all the projects that are going on in the support center, and make sure that we carefully meter our asks and communications out to the hospitals. So that is the overview. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Turpin.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, Ryan. Good morning, everybody. Just want to start off really kind of setting a clear understanding about culture, what it is, how it comes to life, and also to just remind everybody to think about, we're almost at that year mark of where we decided to split the two organizations. So if it seems like it's been a lot longer, we're right around that aspect of where Ethos came into fruition and started breathing life into the specialty and emergency aspects. And NVA GP became its standalone business supported by the holdco company. So when you think about our culture, it's really defined by our values, our beliefs, our behaviors, and the practices that inform how we interact with one another. It's really about how we bring the vision and the mission and the purpose of Ethos to life. And it's done by each one of us in every one of our interactions. So if you really get into this place of thinking about culture, I think this is a great slide. And I love how it fits into the whole name of Ethos, because Ethos really stands for character. And so if you think about what we're working to create in the organization and how we're trying to really impact the veterinary profession, it really is the story we tell, which comes to life through the character of who we are, our ethos system. And so if you'll flip to the next slide. So this is really just to give you a visual aspect of everything that goes into in developing and creating our culture. And a lot of that is the branding that Justin's team puts together, but there's also the aspects of what we're trying to bring to life and what we're trying to do. So we wanted to make this casual and conversation-wise. Most of you know I'm from Louisiana originally, and you hear the twang that leaks out here and there. So in Louisiana, everything is really tied to like food. So I always use the analogy when I talk about culture to think about people cooking gumbo. And so gumbo is ultimately that thing that has a bunch of different pieces and parts to it. So if you'll flip to the next slide, if you know about gumbo and you think about the foundation of it, the foundation of gumbo that makes great gumbo is like the roux. And it's the thing that always has to get made first. And if the roux doesn't turn out well, all the rest of it, it doesn't matter what you put into it. It never becomes this great feast that everybody loves. And so when the work started about a year ago by the leadership team, they were really putting together these key foundational pieces, which I call the roux of the gumbo. Because if we don't know what the foundation is, it's easy for us to be working on a lot of things and doing a lot of stuff that's busy work, but actually isn't creating this phenomenal feast that we're going to have and create what we want to be in the profession of the veterinary space. And so I always think in easy terms and aspects of you got to get the foundation right in order to make the gumbo the best that it can be. It's also to look at these three things as these are like the foundational requirements or table stakes. If we're going to all choose to be part of Ethos, we have to believe in these statements. We also have to embody them and bring them to life every day in whatever it is that we do. And so really thinking about how you contribute to bringing all of these to life. And then in January, go ahead and flip to the next slide. The leadership team came together to really think about, okay, so if this is our foundation, what are the things that we need to have in place? What are the values? What are the behaviors? What are the definitions of these things in order to bring this to life? And so, to use my analogy a little bit further in this, you can kind of think of this as this is everything else. Like, this is the meat on the bone that makes everything really come to life. It's the stuff that you see day in and day out, it's the spices, it's what we do, not merely because we have to, because it's things that we believe in, it's how we want to be treated, and it's how we want others to be treated that we interact with day in and day out. And so bringing all this together is that place of really thinking about how do we make our big splash, our big impact in the whole veterinary profession. And there's a lot of words on this slide. I'm not going to go through it. And I know people are gazing through it, trying to see it all. Don't worry about all of that. You'll have plenty of time to catch it. Justin's team is putting all this together to share with all the functions, so we all have this and really can step into it. And another key part in making gumbo, if you've ever done it, if you'll flip to the next slide, is everything about cooking in Louisiana is done in partnership. And so as we thought about our values as an organization, as the support center of Ethos, we also took into account the hospital's values, like what is really important to them. And as you look into the actions and behaviors of the values you chose or we chose, you'll also notice there's a ton of overlap and there's a ton of alignment that exists in between that partnership already. But it's always good when you're speaking with a hospital to take some time and talk to them about their values and what it is that they're also trying to create, and also help them understand where you're coming from and things, so that we really do have this deep partnership, and that success together is what actually makes Ethos this special, unique place that doesn't exist anywhere else. So if you'll flip to the next one. So this is how we begin to think about bringing culture to life. And this is just a simple slide, really understanding what we have done. So we've clearly defined the foundation, we've defined the values, we're communicating them now. That's going to continue to come out. And all of this becomes part of a living, breathing process. You could think of it being led by talent, but it's also led by each one of us and all of the leaders throughout the organization. And the thing I would encourage everybody on this call is to think about what is the one thing that you can take from maybe this list or other places when you think about our values to begin to bring them to life. And one of the easy ways is acknowledging and celebrating people who are already living out our values and behaving in those ways. So if we'll flip to the last slide there. So we want to put this up because we do want to take just a moment here to acknowledge people in the chat that are already living our values. So what I invite you to do is to pull out your fingers, put them on your keyboards, and start typing in the names of people that are living these values and put the value beside them. And so you can think of this as kind of our virtual world shout out of things. So whatever values you see on the top that you have teammates that are living, people that you've worked with throughout the organization, we're going to take just a few minutes and acknowledge people that are already living through the Ethos values and everything that they do day in and day out and the partnerships that they make. So I'll pause there, give everybody time to just calling people out.
I'll help sprinkle in some of this commentary, chirp in. Oh, they're rolling in. I can't keep up.
That's always the tough part.
This is good. I suppose this is great. There's a lot for pioneering. Dr. Welch, Stacy Burdick, Kristen McClure for courage. Shannon, you're a role model of courage and authenticity. Continuous growth for Mr. Joe Leggio. Kristen Porter is authentic.
A lot of teamwork, a lot of ownership.
Tori for continuous growth. Haley for teamwork. Jason Baird for teamwork. Love teamwork, that's resonating. Gareth Buckley, understanding and showing courage. Teamwork for Amanda Greenwood. Pete Falcone, active listening. Sarah Duffy, ownership and teamwork. Oh my goodness. Melanie for teamwork. Annie Wayne for authenticity.
And one of the ways that I always think about, that we're close. We may not have it perfect, but we're getting it close to right is the first time you roll this out and people can clearly acknowledge their teammates for what they're already doing. Because the values shouldn't be something that we have to create this new way of being about. It should already exist, as we've talked about in the ethos of the organization, which also means we've chosen the right people. They're aligned with the foundation. They're aligned with the behaviors that we need, and they're deeply committed. And it's always wonderful to have deeply committed people versus having people that feel like they have to be compliant to what the organization says versus personally being committed to what it's striving for and being part of creating that together.
This is so cool. There are hundreds in here. As you mentioned, Turpin, one of the things that we'll deliver as a follow-up is this is a bit of a word chart right now, and it's kind of hard to follow. So the brand team is designing a format that makes this more digestible. So that will be coming in the next couple of weeks. But it feels like these are resonating, Turpin.
I think we have done a good job. Yeah. So again, the place now is, as we continue to do this, is really to pick a place, pick a practice, pick something, whether it's your one-on-ones with your teammates, whether it's just passing in cyber world as we do, because most of us don't sit in the office together, so it's hard to do. But even anytime you start a meeting or a call, whether it's a one-on-one or a group, just taking a moment and acknowledging a few people for the values that they've already been living and really showering them with what's the behavior that you've seen them do? Like, what is the thing? Because behaviors is really what brings it all to life. We can talk about ownership, but when we talk about people being accountable and outcome oriented with their mind and really understanding that people didn't get mired down in the problem. They stayed connected to the bigger outcome that we're trying to create as an organization. And they may have had to compromise, give some of their things up in order to make the whole come to life. So really calling people out in those ways. Justin, I want to be courteous of time. I know we've got a lot of other things to do. I hate to cut people short of recognizing and acknowledgement, and hopefully we'll capture this list and send it out somehow at the end of this meeting, just so people can see who acknowledge or that they were acknowledged and what they were acknowledged for, and the people that acknowledge people can make sure that their recognition of their teammates was also captured. Great. So I'm going to pass it all over to the medical leadership team now.
Hi, my name is Dr. Stacy Burdick, and I am the Chief Medical Officer of Ethos Veterinary Health. I am most excited for our community of hospitals to come together and truly revolutionize veterinary medicine. I think that we have the right people in place. I think we have some of the greatest hospitals in the industry and the potential to make a huge difference for our profession. Revolutionizing veterinary medicine means different things to different people, and I think that's the beauty of using that vision, because revolutionizing veterinary medicine can mean something to procurement that is completely different than what it means to our medical team. It's not only talking about how we care for our people and what our community team is going to do for our people, it's talking about patient outcomes and improving patient outcomes. It's about practicing evidence-based medicine and proving that we at Ethos actually practice best medicine, not just say that we do, but actually prove it with data and metrics. It's supporting our nursing teams. It's revolutionizing the way that we think about education and partnering with academic institutions. It's about science and being great partners to our vendors in the industry to open our hospitals to provide great access to clinical trials, as well as creating novel research opportunities like we can with Ethos Discovery. It's mentorship, it's internships, it's residencies, and supporting all of the formal training programs on the floor. It's about integrating doctors throughout our support center so that our support center has that doctor's perspective, and we do that through our specialty advisory board. And it's about engaging all of our doctors as a part of the broader network. Revolutionizing veterinary medicine also means helping our medical directors and our medical leadership on the ground at the hospital level realize their full potential. And so having that support system to help you realize your full potential and continue to grow and learn and develop in your career is really vital to our success there. Not only are we elevating the people around us and seeing them succeed in their roles and make huge differences for our profession, but we are also pushing the boundaries of what we can provide as far as patient care on the floor to provide our patients with longer, happier lives, and thereby affecting their families too. So I guess the answer is we can affect positive change in the world around us.
Awesome, thanks. So yeah, I think great perspective from Stacy, and since she is on the road, I'm going to jump in and sort of fill the gap and share a few slides from the medicine team. So I think first of all, for me, it's super exciting to be part of an organization that's focused on driving medical excellence. I think both within the organization, but also for the profession as a whole. And I think that's the really important part. That's the differentiator. We're not talking about revolutionizing Ethos Veterinary Health. We're focused on revolutionizing our industry, our profession. And I do think we carry that forward in a lot of different ways, and that really does, I think, differentiate us from a lot of other groups. So as I look at it personally, I think we're tackling this in two different key ways. I think one, we're committed to practicing the absolute best medicine we can day in and day out. And that starts with investing in people through continuous learning and growth. And I'm really proud of the commitment we've made there. I think whether it's formalized training programs, professional development, bringing in subject matter experts from outside, in the industry, the key is no one's standing still. Everyone's trying to improve in their own way, their skills, their expertise. And that's how we all strive for excellence. And then collectively, that's how Ethos strives for excellence. And I think coupled with that, we're investing in state-of-the-art technology and facilities and equipment to try to make sure our teams have all the tools they need to sort of deliver on that promise and perform at their peak. So I think, the other piece to this is trying to take on an evidence-based approach, be data-driven, track our progress, learn from our mistakes, acknowledge our mistakes, and use all this data and learning to achieve our ultimate goals. So I think there's some really, again, big differentiators in how we're approaching advancing medicine. And I think second, and in some ways this is even more exciting for me, is that we're focusing on trying to add net new value to the profession through innovation. So we're not simply trying to achieve excellence within established boundaries. We're trying to push those boundaries, if that's through scientific breakthroughs, educational advances, pioneering medical innovation, whatever it is. Again, we're trying to leave our mark on the profession and fundamentally change the profession, which again circles back to revolutionizing veterinary medicine. So I think there's a lot to that. And to achieve that, we need to obviously take care of our teams. So I think focusing on the health and well-being of our team, providing a strong support network, mentorship, and we're lucky to have really incredible resources and people who, to them, these aren't just talking points. They really get how deeply vital this stuff is. I think Turpin's a great example of that in the community team. I think Annie Wayne from Clinical L&D is super passionate about mentorship. So Like these are people who really understand the value of the programs, and the impact on people. And some of the programs, I'll go back to mentorship. I mean, they have the potential not only to, I think, impact Ethos Veterinary Health, but become models to really transform the profession, and address a lot of the industry challenges. So I think we're doing some things differently that are going to have a big impact broadly. And I think lastly, just working to ensure that everyone's doing the work that they love and the work they should be doing. So we talk a lot about labor stratification or practicing at the top of license. But what all this really means is that, you know, people feel most engaged and satisfied when they feel like they're making a difference. And the way that people make a difference is doing the job they were meant to do. And a lot of that ties back to training. So it's that emphasis on continuous growth. I think excited to roll out Vet Bloom across the organization. So we'll finally have everyone in one consistent learning ecosystem. And once we're all there, we can start to leverage some of the amazing work and programs we have. You know, the house officer programs and resources that Gareth is working on, the vet assistant program, the new CSR curriculum that Luann and Jared are working on. All these create tremendous value, and it'll be exciting to leverage these across the entire portfolio of hospitals. And then lastly, from a learning and growth standpoint, just expanding our focus on competency-based learning. So I think from ERI to the work that Gareth has done to redesign our internship programs to nursing development programs like Ascend and ERGO, competency-based learning creates really an amazing scaffolding for all the job types. And then when you partner with other groups like Chrissy on the nursing side and the medical leadership, you can really create and define career pathing frameworks that really help to connect talent to opportunity, which is tremendously beneficial. So, all right, we can jump to the next slide. So how do we do all this? That's we've talked about a lot, and I think the key is we've got a really awesome structure in place to help us get this stuff done. So I think, you know, on the medical excellence side, led by Kristen Frank, it's just a great opportunity to share best practices, you know, dig out the bright spots from across the organization and then find ways to leverage and scale those, and then just lead that sort of collaboration across the medical function. So it's really exciting to see that sort of area scale up here over the past year. And then the SAB led by Rachel Halpin. So I think, you know, what an awesome way to embed medical expertise across the organization. So make sure that we've got medical input in all the right areas and sort of creating that medical knowledge ecosystem. So I think a tremendous amount of great work happening there. On the MedOps side, you know, Dave, John, Beth, Jen, I think working hand in hand with the ops team, that's sort of the connection back to the front line, right? Leveraging the work done to support the medical team, support the hospitals. But it also really importantly works in reverse, so bringing topics to the surface that require attention and conversation. So, so I think a lot of value there. And then science and discovery, we'll touch on those functions in a moment, but just call out here that we're really excited to welcome Dr. Tracy Hill, just joined as the Director of Science Consultancy. And of course, everyone knows Sam. So a lot of value there that we'll touch on in a moment. And then super exciting, I may be biased, but clinical learning and development, just a tremendous team. So we've got Tracy Hightower and Gareth Buckley sort of leading the different areas of that team. And we've touched a lot on what they do. I think the focus on continuing learning and growth, the development of competency-based programs, sort of role-based education. As we were putting this together, we realized that there's no way to really do the dive we need to do into learning and growth. So we're gonna do a deeper dive at a separate time and really sort of get into that function. So stay tuned there. And then lastly, nursing. I think with Chrissy Giovanelli, just incredible to have that position in the organization, make sure that veterinary nurses have a voice, focus on nurse utilization, labor stratification, you know, how we can make the patient experience the best it can by focusing on the role that nurses play on the healthcare team, and then partnering with clinical learning and development to really focus on nurse development and how we provide opportunities there. So we'll jump to the next slide here. So science and discovery, I think, if we start with discovery, really exciting to see, again, we talked about innovation, a focus on scientific innovation. So bringing that new value to the profession, that's a pretty unique thing. You don't see that a lot, sort of this basic science function aligned with a practice group. So it's a big differentiator for Ethos, provides great opportunities for cross-pollination, training, mentorship, research opportunities for our doctors and house officers. And then the science consultancy, I think working to expand this clinical trial model. I mean, yes, we're leveraging our hospitals to conduct trials, but it's so much more, we're getting in earlier to help with study design. We're providing data and insight into biopharma, from the profession, partnering with VetBloom to provide educational marketing and other resources. So really sort of a one-stop shop to provide a lot of value. So, and next slide. And so I think, we went through a lot, and there is a lot, and that's exciting. There's a lot happening. But for a deeper dive, certainly reach out to anyone that I mentioned during this overview. Go to GoFetch. We've got deeper dives on GoFetch so you can learn more, and really excited about the work that's being done. So with that, I will pass it on to Tyler and Brandon.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Welch. So we're going to jump into a little bit more detail around our 2024 initiatives, and then I'll pass it over to Brandon with a focus on service excellence. So we shared some of this in the about the annual planning process at a high level in last month's town hall with our hospital teams, as well as all of you, but wanted to go a bit deeper with this team to address a few recurring pieces of feedback that we heard from all of you as we reflected back on the dynamic year that was 2023, as Ryan mentioned, and how to set this team up in our hospitals for success in 2024. So a couple of those pieces of feedback: one, with all of the changes to the org structure and the establishment of the new Ethos, kind of what are our priorities for 2024? And how do we ensure that we provide visibility and transparency into what these focus areas are and how they support our vision, mission, purpose, and strategic objectives? Two, with clarity around those priorities, how do we also ensure that we have the appropriate resources within and across our teams to support those objectives, and be thoughtful about when new priorities or opportunities come along, that we think about how to make trade-offs and how to make decisions on where we should continue to focus. So I'll use a couple different terms. There's priorities, and then there's priority initiatives. These are the three core priorities that we've established for Ethos in 2024 and will likely persist for many years going forward. One, delivering outstanding medical and operational excellence through exceptional service. This is probably some fancy words for business as usual, our day jobs. Our day jobs are to provide incredible service and support to our hospital teams and each other day in and day out. And this is probably 80 to 90% of how you spend your time in your team and in support of our hospitals. We then second have a set of foundational priority initiatives, which we call, again, you'll see the foundational initiatives. And this is really about how do we continue to invest in the core infrastructure, capability, processes that an organization of our size needs to be successful on a long-term basis. And then last but not least, super important to the vision of Ethos, how do we also ensure that we have the proper balance of strategic initiatives, which are things that are going to uniquely differentiate how we practice medicine, how we deliver service, how we deliver care within Ethos and within our hospitals, and ensure that we are at the forefront of veterinary medicine and specialty and emergency medicine. So next slide, please. So this is not intended to be legible, so not asking you to try. Really was more wanting to show a little bit of how the sausage was made for this group's benefit, because we did really want to take an intentional approach to the planning. So you'll see 4 steps here. I'll just quickly voice over the 4 steps that we took to identify what these priority initiatives would be for the year and ensure that we're properly resourcing them. So step 1, this was really working with all of the teams to surface and come up with what are all the potential priority initiatives or projects that we could focus on beyond our core service excellence and delivery. So the first phase was kind of talking to all the functional teams and collecting what those projects and opportunities could be. Step 2 was looking at those projects and cross-referencing them against the strategic objectives of Ethos. It's very important that we ensure that the things that we're focused on are in alignment with what we're trying to accomplish on a mid and long-term basis as an organization. So that was kind of an important step, was how do we ensure that those priority initiatives are consistent with the strategic objectives of the organization. Step 3, again, not meant to be legible, was asking our initiative submitters to provide more detail around what this impact is going to be, what teams do they need to partner with, and what support do they need to be successful. How are we going to measure success? Things that are very critical to ultimately delivering impact and value to our organization. And then step 4, a critical step that admittedly we could have done a better job in the past and really wanted to focus on this year, was how do we do our best to anticipate and understand, not only within the function, but cross-functionally, the resources that each of these projects will need to be successful, so that we can ensure that we are resourcing appropriately and not overstretching the organization, and therefore setting ourselves up for success. So next slide, please. So this is the outcome. We ended up with just under about 30 priority initiatives split into the foundational and strategic buckets that I mentioned earlier. So these are the 13 foundational initiatives. And as I mentioned, you see the words core within these headers. This is things that hopefully all look familiar to you or resonate with you in the areas of just what are the core fundamental things that we need to do to support the successful operations of our hospitals in the areas of performance, people, medicine, and service. As you know, this is a year with outsized focus around really modernizing our systems and the foundational processes that support how we support our hospitals and do business, and streamline efficiencies, get data that we need to make better decisions. And then lastly, just an ongoing journey of corporate readiness or corporate maturity. It's a bit of a buzzword, but just how do we ensure that we're continuing to invest in areas such as compliance, regulation, and structure that ensures that we are being responsible stewards of the business. Next slide, please. And then our strategic initiatives, we shared a number of these in the last town hall, and this deck will be shared with you as well. But here's where we also now, as mentioned, have layered in what are the unique and differentiating capabilities that we are looking to develop, expand, amplify within our support center, as well as with our hospital teams, to advance each of these areas of our strategic objectives for Ethos. And won't go through all of them, but you can see a number of areas focused around people and culture, medicine, leveraging our scale at our size. How do we take this incredible community of hospitals that we've built over the last 4 to 5 years and really ensure that we are maximizing everything that we know and everything we can bring to each other. All right, next slide, please. And then what was probably equally as important to the planning process is how are we going to ensure that we have the processes in place, that we have the mechanisms in place to provide the communication, to hold ourselves accountable to delivering against these objectives. And as I mentioned earlier, to ensure that we are committed to delivering these priorities and managing the shiny object syndrome that is potentially a distraction for us, given how many opportunities there are for us to pursue. So how we'll be successful, the intentional splitting of the businesses and the structure that we put in place at the end of 2023 certainly will help us have more focus and accountability within our organization. Air traffic control is a capability that Ryan spoke to, and Jason's going to walk us through in a minute here. We have a dedicated project management office led by Jason that's going to help keep us organized and accountable to the project plans and the milestones that we've established for these initiatives. And then the one that I really, again, want to hit, I know I've said a number of times here, but really committing to a disciplined approach to knowing that when we have a new opportunity or new priority that comes along, that needs to be considered amongst the existing priorities and make sure that we're making the right trade-off decisions, not just adding more to our plates. So I know Justin put this in the chat, but on our GoFetch page, there's a tab that's called 2024 Initiatives. It has more detail on what each of these initiatives are. So feel free to go there to learn more. And of course, if you have more questions, feel free to reach out to your leadership team support member or the project owner themselves for more detail. But really excited about what we have on our plate this year and that balance of maturing the organization and also continuing to differentiate Ethos in the industry. And so thanks so much for all the support you're providing to deliver against all these great priorities. And I will pass it over to Brandon now.
Great. Thanks, Tyler. And good morning, everyone. It's always nice to see months of very detailed work boiled down into a 3-minute presentation. But I think Tyler and Jason have done a nice job of getting us set up for success. What I want to do for the next couple of minutes is talk about one of the projects. It's part of one of those core foundational ones. And it also reflects highly on kind of our business as usual work that Tyler talked about, and that is service excellence. So we have a project around this to put a little bit more structure in place this year. And we'll give you updates on other projects as well via newsletter, town hall, and GoFetch. But this one is really foundational, and it means providing great service to our hospitals and also to other support functions. So everyone on this call. And it's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of day to day, but this is literally why all of us are here, to help our hospitals so they can focus on taking care of pets and pet parents. And there's 2 key components to this. The first one is being really specific about what services we actually offer to hospitals and each other, and defining that clearly in a way that everyone can understand. And then second is measuring how well our hospitals think that we're actually doing at providing them with that service and support. We measure how we're doing based on a survey, and we've been doing those since early 2022. Some of you may have seen the survey results for previous ones, and I think we shared them at the town hall as well. And the survey asks for each support function about the responsiveness and quality of service, plus an opportunity for the hospital teams to put comments in about it. And then those comments are reviewed and the scores and used to develop actions for how we can do better every day as part of continuous improvement. So we can move to the next slide. So the next survey is going out in April. You can see that we are here in the upper left. So the next survey, we'll be doing the survey twice a year. We've tried to do it twice a year since spring of 2022, although we got a little bit interrupted last spring. We'll share those results of the survey during the town hall, and each functional leader, as I mentioned, will use the results to develop action plans to improve. We'll also refresh the service definitions if needed based on changes in staffing for our teams, the tools that we have, or the focus and priorities of the organization. And then those action plans and service definitions are posted on GoFetch. You can go and see them anytime. There's a consolidated one that was posted and I think referenced in a newsletter that went out last time. And also on each functional team's Ethos web pages, the service definitions and action plans are being posted. I think we might have a few more to get up, but they should be up in the next day or two if they're not up already. And we should also make sure that we're further communicating progress to our hospitals through all the channels that we have available. It's really important that we listen to the feedback from the hospital teams and show that we're taking actions to improve. I think for some of us who are not working day to day in the hospitals, it can be difficult to understand the implication of our action and the way that we support them to our hospital teams. And this survey gives us a bit of a window into that. And the more that we can show that we're listening and taking action, the more trust and collaboration we'll be able to have with our hospital teams. So I hope that this update was helpful. Please feel free to reach out to me directly with any questions you have. And I will put in one more plug for GoFetch. Set it as your default webpage if you haven't already, and make sure you use it frequently as a great resource. And now I'll hand it over to Justin to talk about air traffic control.
Thank you, Brandon. Hi, everyone. I am Jason Baird. I am relatively new and my team is new to the support center. So I just wanted to introduce myself. I am the director of our project management group, which is sometimes referred to as the PMO. You can probably remember me by my giant signature headphones whenever you're on the phone with me. So among some of the things that my team does, we spend a majority of our time working on the priority initiatives that Tyler mentioned. I have a small but mighty team of project managers, and so we help organize and coordinate that. But one of the other things that we do, and what I would like to share with you today, is the new air traffic control calendar. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the air traffic control calendar. So you can get to the air traffic control calendar on GoFetch. If you just come up here to Ethos Veterinary Health, it's really easy to find. It's the very first option. You can just click on air traffic control. Now, this calendar was kind of born from the survey that Brandon was just mentioning. One of the probably biggest requests that hospital teams had of us as a support center was they wanted more communication visibility into projects and different asks that we were going to have to the hospital leadership team. And so they just wanted to be able to see that. And so we listened and we heard, and we built this air traffic control calendar. And basically what it is it's a calendar that will list out major events and projects that impact all or most of our hospitals, as well as it also lists out different communications that are going out. So it kind of has two major purposes. The first one is just communication and transparency, so that all of us in the support center and all of the hospitals can kind of see what different types of activities and events are happening from week to week, and we can kind of see the pipeline of what's coming. And then the second major purpose is so that we can look at it together and coordinate our efforts, whether it's emails and communications that are going out, or different projects and asks that we're going to have of the hospital teams. We can look on here and make sure that we don't have any major collisions, or that we're all trying to ask the hospital leaders to do some big project on the same week or the same day. And we can alleviate some of the stress that we're putting on each other by just coordinating a little bit better. So I'll just show you around really quick a couple of things that you'll notice. So over here in the main section, this is the calendar itself. Over here on the right, you'll see some quick links. There's an FAQ document if you have questions. If you have projects or events that you think need to be on the calendar so that everybody can know about them, and they do impact a majority or all of our hospitals, there's links to submit those there. As well as if you have a communication that is going to go out from you or your team to all the hospitals or hospital leaders, you could submit that here so that we can help coordinate all of that. Now, coming over here to the calendar, you'll notice that there's different categories on here. So there'll be higher impact events that are probably more time consuming for everybody in the hospitals. You'll have other events that are important for everyone to know, but maybe aren't as don't take up as much time for everybody. And then there's also a communication section that goes down. One of the nice things about the calendar is you can expand and contract the different sections just by clicking on them. So that's really easy to use. You can also use the navigation buttons up here to move around from week to week, so you can see what's coming up in the future and see what's going on. Really quickly, just to highlight a couple things that are going on right now over the next couple weeks. We have wave 2 of the Dayforce go live that's impacting several of our hospitals, so that's ongoing. We have inventory count coming up on March 31st, so you can see that. We're all working on goal setting and performance reviews and merit conversations, so you can see some of those. You can see the support center survey that Brandon just mentioned, and when that's going out and when the response times are. So really a lot of good information on here, and every day we're adding new things. So please use this. It's a really great tool, and I'm excited to share it with you. And it's all here on GoFetch. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I will turn it back over to Ryan.
I am not Ryan, but I will take this section. If you want to stop sharing your screen, and then put Haley, you can put the final moment screen on. We're going to do a Q&A. By the way, Jason, there's some shout outs to you in the chat, so check that out. Thank you for that. All right. Thanks to those that submitted questions in advance, as well as those that have submitted live during the conversation. We're going to teeter-totter back and forth. The first one, this is a really great question, and I'll turn it to Ryan to answer. Is servant leadership no longer a core value of Ethos? Ryan, what's your take on that?
So the short answer is that it's not one of the values that Turpin discussed. But what I would say is that servant leadership has to be alive and well within the Ethos culture, especially for the support center. Why is the support center here? We're here to serve. We're here to serve the hospitals. All of us are here to serve the hospitals. And so that element of servant leadership has to be alive and well in everything we do. Everyone on this call, everyone in the support center that does anything for the hospitals. I think there's definitely elements of servant leadership in the values that we did highlight earlier. Certainly teamwork, understanding, authenticity. I mean, there's elements absolutely within servant leadership, and we'll definitely be talking more about servant leadership in the future and making sure that we are always in service of our hospitals. So more to come on that front.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. This next question, Brandon, I'm going to turn to you. It was one that was submitted during your section. Are previous support center survey results archived somewhere that anybody could view and reference?
Yeah, so the high-level results were shared in the town hall, and the town hall recordings are certainly posted on GoFetch. So you can just search for town hall and locate those. And I think that it was shared, again, the high-level results at both of the last two town halls. But if you want the more detailed ones that show like individual function breakouts in comparison to previous scores and all the verbatim commentary, for those you can reach out to your functional leader or the team lead for your department, and they'll be able to provide that to you in all of the additional detail.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandon. All right, I'm going to toggle to some pre-submitted questions, and lucky you, Shannon. There were a handful, and they're all HR people related, so I'm going to hand them over to you. The first question is it possible for employees to have a main point of contact for HR for things like benefits? Because sometimes email responses can take a long time.
Yeah, no, great question. So first of all, let me talk about the retriever system. We've gotten about 4,192 cases since January, so volume is really high. But we do have an SLA, like Brandon mentioned, of 2 business days. And what I want to mention with business days is if you send an email on a Friday at 3 p.m., 2 business days would be a response by Tuesday at 3 p.m., considering that like Monday's not a holiday, right? But I checked with our current status and we're about 84% compliant with that SLA. There are always going to be circumstances in HR, especially with things like benefits that are really personal and complicated that could take longer than that. But please know we are always committed to improving our service levels. We will continue to run reports. And please, let us know if you're having an experience where we're not getting back to you within that time. That being said, you do have a point of contact in HR. Her name is Anna Mott, and she is your HRBP. She is happy to escalate any concerns that you have if you're not getting something back within those 2 business days. She would be a good point of contact for you and can answer whatever she can within her scope. Some more complicated questions, like I mentioned, around benefits, things like that, will have to go through the support center, but she'll help escalate those if you run past the deadline. And then finally, one plug the HR operations team asked me to give is that please do not submit multiple tickets to the same issue. It really causes delays and confusion for that team. And also don't have your manager resubmit it on your behalf. Instead, go through Anna, contact me, and we'll make sure that we get you a response as soon as possible.
Thank you. Like I said, we'll stay with you. And I'm also thinking that maybe at an upcoming call, we'll do HR as our feature department. So there always seem to be some questions on HR.
I love a feature, so I'll take it.
Do you have an update on our 401k match and when that may improve?
I don't think it would be a town hall, a Q&A session, or any type of meeting if I didn't get a question about benefits and 401k. So yes. And first, I want to say, and I say this every time, we understand the importance of competitive benefit plans and that they need to meet the needs and the evolving needs of all of our teammates. So I want to call that out. We understand. However, the investments that we need to make around 401k plans, cost sharing, and leave programs are going to carry a significant cost. So I need to keep reiterating that. Ethos needs to weigh those costs against other initiatives and things we want to do in the business. As a first step in improving our benefits, we have just hired Willis Towers Watson to be our new benefits broker. So we just hired him this week. We are going to start working with them on a multi-year benefits roadmap, which is going to help us get to where we want to go, our future desired state, but also help us in the meantime address any gaps in our current plans. So more to come on that. Trust me, I would love a grand match as well and a safe harbor plan. I think we all would. But I am committed to looking at our current benefits and making sure that in this next open enrollment period, you guys see some changes. So hold tight. The whole Ethos leadership team is with you, and we will get you there.
All right, since you're
I'll
speaking
answer that question the same probably next time, but keep them coming.
All right, we have a few minutes left. Let's do one more with you. But there are so many awesome questions that we just won't be able to get to. So what we promise is we'll answer all of them and include them in a follow-up because there's such great questions around DEI, some technicalities around GoFetch, which I love all of those questions. So more to come, we'll answer all of those. But Shannon, a really specific question. Is there a policy around having phone numbers in our email signatures?
I am not aware of any policy around phone numbers and email signatures, but what I will tell you, two things. Number one is I use Teams a lot to call folks. You don't need a phone number. You just need their contact information. What is great about Teams, and where I'll encourage it, is you can actually see if they're busy or not. It has the red, yellow, or green. But I communicate with my team through Teams daily, whether it's chat, direct messaging, or a phone call. So please know that resource is available to you guys to use. And in lieu of a phone number, it's a great way to get a hold of someone. That being said, if you run across someone who doesn't put their phone number in their email, and again, I think it is a best practice to do that. So I would encourage you guys all to do it. There could be personal reasons for why maybe they don't. So I would just reach out to them and say, hey, can you please share your phone number with me? Get it. And I mean, by chance, it could just happen that they'll end up putting it in the signature if enough people reach out to them asking for that, because it is a pain in the butt to have to answer that every single time. But it is a best practice. Please do it if you can. But again, just be patient with some folks who might have some reasons for why they don't. And
thank you, Shannon. And thanks everybody for the questions. They're still rolling in, which is awesome. But that is unfortunately all we have time for. So Ryan, I'll turn it to you if you have any final closing remarks for us.
Yeah, just thanks to all the presenters here. Good content. Know that the intention was to kind of have content for 40 and Q&A for 20, but I know everybody's excited to share information about their departments, and so hopefully if you found the extra couple minutes that everybody took to be informative, and we promise we will allow for more time for Q&A next time, and so appreciate all the questions that have come through. Please fill out the survey. Tell us what you want for this meeting. Probably have another one in another couple of months, and meant to sort of augment or supplement the materials that we're already sharing in our broader town halls. But tell us what you think, and and we love the feedback. So hopefully everyone has a great rest of their day today and rest of the week, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks Justin and team for keeping us organized. All right, take care everyone.